Good morning, everybody. As y'all are checking in, I don't think we started yet. This is where am I? Three. Hope everybody's having a good morning. It says it is letting people know that I've started a live stream, so give it a couple. Give it a few seconds for people to check in, and we're going to get into it in a moment. I got a call coming up later on. It's ready to go. Hope everyone's having a great start to your week. As I said, y'all see the title on here. The topic here today is why you want to be a sellout, or why selling out is buying in. I've actually got a good amount of material on this whole topic, but I'm going to talk about it from this angle specifically today as to why you actually want to be a sellout, even though most people talk about being a sellout as a negative thing. I'm going to talk about this as a positive thing. So as y'all are coming in, again, shout yourselves out in the comment section. Tell me your name, location if you want to, but I'm going to get right into my points, and I'll address questions and comments at the end if anybody has them. Again, the topic again today is why you want to be a sellout. And I'm on my browser. I just scroll through too many tabs all at the same time. It's probably going to mess up my browser, but I'm live on Rumble, YouTube, X, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook all at the same time. If my browser didn't crash, I think my browser might crash here. Hey, I got too many tabs open at the same time. But anyway, the first person I heard talk about this was this guy who's passed away a couple of years ago. His name was Kevin Samuels. I heard him saying this on one of his live streams. He wasn't talking about dating, which is what he came to be known for. He was actually talking about talking to men. He was just talking about professionally moving up in your careers and anything that you want to do. And he was specifically talking to younger Black men. I got to pause connection here. I think I pulled too much on my internet all at the same time. I got to pause. Anyway, he was talking to younger Black men and telling them that many people, people in general, tend to have this concept, this idea in their heads about selling out, or about going and doing something where you are kind of like, as they say, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans. And a lot of times, especially in the world today, people tend to want to push back against that. They tend to want to be of this mindset of, oh, well, I can be independent. I want to do things the way that I want to do them. I don't have to go along with what everybody else is doing. And there is a time where that makes sense. I'm an entrepreneur, so I 100% agree and understand that there is a time when that does make sense, when you don't need to go along with what everybody else is doing and not go along to get along, as we say. There is a time for that, but there is also a time, and this is where wisdom comes in, when you have to know when you should actually go along with what everybody else is doing and what's happening, and with what's happening in your space, because it'll help you move forward a lot more easily and help you get traction a lot faster and help things go a lot more smoothly. So the way that, again, he was talking about, and the way I'm going to explain it here today, is that you have to understand that we're in a results-based business. And the results-based business we're in is your career, your life, just in general. Anything that you're doing, when a results-based business, which means everything that we do needs to be done with respect to achieving a desired outcome. And a desired outcome is not serving your ego. Serving your ego is not the desired outcome, ever. Let me say that again. Serving your ego personally is not the desired outcome, ever. And often I talk to people who tend to be of this mind of, well, this is what I want to do. This is how I feel. This is how I want to express myself. This is what I'm okay with or what I'm not okay with. Well, none of those things have anything to do with achieving the outcome. So we have to have respect for the outcome. Doesn't mean that you don't have an ego. Doesn't mean you completely bury your ego. The ego is useful at certain times, but we got to know when to use it and when to not use it. So today, as I get into these points, you're going to understand exactly what I mean. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books. I've done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is we extract the tools to help athletes get to the top of the sports world. We translate those over to the business and professional world to help professionals like you perform at your highest level, do so consistently, and do so and produce results. Said the same thing twice here. So as I just told you, results-based business, this is about producing results. So high-level performance done consistently leads to consistent outcomes. If that's what you're looking for, you're in the right place. So let's get into it. Point number 1, we're talking here today about why you want to be a sellout and how selling out is actually a good idea, not a negative thing. Number 1 is you have to play the damn game. This is the most important point. Play the game. I've talked about this in other episodes of my show. By the way, I have a show that comes out every day. It is called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, all those places. And I told people, don't complain, play the game. What does playing the game mean? one of the first things you need to understand in the work on your game philosophy is that the first step that many people miss, and this is the reason why they end up not getting the outcomes that they want. So a lot of people don't even know what game they're in. A lot of people think they're in one business, they're actually in another business. You need to figure out what game you're in and know for sure what game you're in, so you know what decisions to make and what decisions not to make based on your respect for the game that you're in. Because again, you may think you're in the game of doing what you want to do when you're actually in the game of you need to do what serves the purpose of the organization or the industry or the collective of which you are a part. So playing the damn game means understanding the game you're in, learning how to play it, and then taking actions based on what is going to serve you best in the space that you're in that environment, which again, sometimes that means when in Rome, do as the Romans. All right? It doesn't mean that you always can do what you want to do. Now, any of you work at a job, or can you just do what you want to do when you work at a job? No. If you living under somebody's roof when you're a child, can you just do whatever you want to do all the time? No. When you are in someone else's organization, sometimes you have to adjust to the situation to better serve yourself, not just do whatever you feel like doing or saying whatever you feel like saying. So there are times in life when you can adjust the situation to fit your preferences. You don't like how things are going, you can adjust the situation to get things to go the way you want them to go. There are other times in life when you must adjust to the circumstance. You can't make the circumstance adjust to you. You must adjust to the circumstance. And when you are wise, you understand when you can change the situation and when you cannot change the situation, whether you can leave the situation or not. So if you're in a situation that you can't leave, you need to know, okay, this part I can adjust it. This part I cannot adjust it. So I guess I got to adjust myself. And as you mature and grow and get smarter, and mature doesn't have anything to do with a certain age. You could be 40 and still looking to mature. You could be 25 and fully mature. You need to know which is which. You need to know which situation is which. As the serenity prayer says, right? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom is knowing the difference. And what I find today, a lot of people that I talk to, is a lot of people don't have the wisdom of understanding the difference. And many of you make the mistake of thinking that you could just change any situation to be how you want it to be, or make other people do things how you want to do them when you ain't in charge. And this is what playing the game is about. Playing the game is about respecting your position. If you're not the person in charge, you're not the one calling the shots, then you can't tell people what you want to do or how you want things to go and always get your way. All right. That is you disrespecting and not understanding the game, which is going to cost you in the long run more than it's going to gain you. When I was in college, for example, and playing basketball, if I didn't see eye to eye with the coach, I had to respect the fact that the coach had more power than I did in terms of what ended up happening. So even if I didn't like what the coach's rules were, I still needed to follow the rules if I wanted to be on the team and I wanted to get playing time in the game. And if I violated that, then I ended up losing either my position on the team or my playing time, which didn't help me. It didn't help the team because I was a good player. So it would be better if I was on the court than not on the court. And all it did was make the situation worse for everybody. And this is because of a lack of wisdom of understanding your situation and understanding your position. So playing the game means, any of you who's ever played a sport, you understand that there's a position. Everybody has a position, right? Soccer team, there are positions. Football, baseball, basketball, everybody has a position. You need to know what your position is, and you need to play it the right way. Playing your position does not mean you do whatever you want to do. Everybody understands. When you work at a job, you understand there's a hierarchy, right? There's a boss, there's a person on top, there are people there in the middle, there are people down at the bottom. You need to know where you land in that hierarchy and play your position properly. You make mistakes in that position, you can end up losing your job and losing your livelihood and your opportunities to take the next step, simply because you're listening to your ego more than you're listening to your logic and your rationale. But you shouldn't be making this mistake, because I'm telling you right now. Okay, so don't be conditioned to believe that every situation should be set up to serve you personally, because life is not set up to serve you. Life is set up how it's set up, and there are 1 billion people, 8 billion people on the planet. You need to learn to get in where you fit in. And if you want to be the boss, you want to be in charge, fine, go be the boss, go be in charge. You know where to do that. Go start your own business. You can be in charge. You can put your name on the door. You can do whatever you want to do. The trade-off of that is that everything's on you. If it fails, it's all on you. If it succeeds, you get all the credit. But if your name is not on the door, you're not the person in charge. You got to play your damn position. And when you make a mistake there, it's going to cost you. Mistakes are not free, ladies and gentlemen. Every mistake you make is going to cost you. There is a cost to mistakes, even if the only cost, quote unquote, is your time. Time is the most valuable resource you have. You can't keep making these mistakes. And this is why I'm telling you all this, so that if you have been making this mistake, this is a wake-up call for you. Let's move on to point number 2. We're talking here today about why you want to be a sellout, and why selling out is actually a good thing. So that first point about adjusting to what the situation is, you might feel like you're selling out because you're used to just being independent and thinking how you want to think and serving your ego. And you're like, well, I'm selling out if I just was to suppress my ego and swallow my pride and do what the situation calls for me to do. I'm telling you, that's actually a good thing, because sometimes in life, in order to get the outcomes you want, you need to get on the inside first and serve for a minute, and then you can change things and make things how you want them to be. But if you go straight, I'm just going to make everything how I want to make it, but you don't have the resources to do so, then you're going to come up short. So point number 2 is this: getting information and access sometimes requires you being on the inside. All right, information and access, you need to be on the inside. If you really want to change the situation and you're serious about that situation, sometimes the best way to do that is by playing the game, making the adjustments to the situation once you're on the inside, once you get in. You see, you can't always change everything from the outside. I don't like the situation. I don't like how things look there. You can't just stand outside the room talking shit about the situation and saying how terrible it is. Sometimes you got to get on the inside and see what's really going on, and then you make your adjustments to the situation while you're in there. All right, if you look at someone like, for example, we got the presidential campaign going on in the United States right now, at least when I'm recording this, and Donald Trump talked about the first time he ran, he talked about he wanted to drain the swamp, right? He wanted to change the whole DC situation. And I don't care if you like Trump or you dislike Trump. The point being, I'm using him to illustrate the point that I'm making, is that he didn't like how politics were looking, at least according to what he said. He said, I'm going to run for president and I'm going to win. And then I'm going to get on the inside and I'm going to make the adjustments from the inside. I'm not just going to talk about them from the outside. I'm going to get on the inside and then I'm going to change the game from the inside. Now, whether you think he did that or not, or if he's going to do it again, that's not the topic. The point being, he was doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. All right, you got to get on the inside and play the game a little bit if you need to, and then you make your adjustments once you've already got in. All right, you can't always change things from the outside. Sometimes you got to get in, and then you can alter the situation to your liking. And this means playing the game for a minute. My favorite book, 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, he talks about this. He says, think as you wish, but behave like everybody else. Think however you want to think, but you should behave like everybody else. Now, why would you do this? Why would you behave like everybody else? Because again, people might say, well, that's being fake. That's being political. That's selling out. Why would you do this? I was just talking to a friend of mine, a colleague of mine who has their own business, and they were telling me this challenge that they have with one of their staff members. And I was telling them what they need to do in order to deal with that person and placate the situation until they can make changes. And they said, well, what you're suggesting to me, Dre, is kind of like being fake. And I said, well, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but let's remember what the goal is. All right, the goal is not serving your ego, because you may not like dealing with this person, but if you serve your ego, you may lose that person. That's going to hurt your business. The goal is your business needs to be successful. So we need to get your business to a certain level of success before we worry about serving your ego. You're not in a position to serve your ego right now because the business needs this person. So whether you like them or not, if you want to call it being fake, be fake. All right, call it being fake. But whatever you want to call it, you need to do this, because the most important priority is serving the business, not serving your ego. So this is another thing. When I say play the game, any of you who's played a sport or you ever watch sports, everybody understands that a sport has an outcome, right? There's a desired outcome that one team is trying to win the game. So playing the game means you need to know what is winning for me. What's the win for you? And in a sport, there's one clear win. At the end of the game, we want to have more points than the other team. There's one objective in sports, one objective, not 10, not 3, not 2, one objective. The challenge for many of you, and the reason why you have trouble making decisions, because you're trying to go after, I got a pause connection on Instagram. All right, with that. Challenge for many of you, and the reason you're not able to achieve your desired outcomes, because you're trying to go after too many outcomes at the same time. In the sports world, there's one outcome. When the Chicago Bulls play against the New York Knicks, there's one desired outcome, that we want our team to have more points than the other team when the game's over. Now, there are other things we need to do. We need to grab rebounds, set screens, play defense, pass the ball. Somebody has to make an open shot. We got to make our free throws and all of that. Yes, those are all means to the end. But there's one prime objective. You need to know what the prime objective is for you, because if you don't know what the main objective is, then you may be trying to do 3 or 4 things at the same time because you're wearing them all equally. Something has to be at the top. All right, any of you been in a car before? All right, all you know how to drive? Most of you? Okay, how many steering wheels are there in a car? A car has one steering wheel. All right, so you can't have 3 or 4 things trying to drive the car all at the same time. It needs to be one main thing in the driver's seat that is saying, this is the main thing. Everything else is a supporting element, but this is the main thing. What's the main thing for you? If you don't know, then this is the reason why you end up confused and it's hard for you to make decisions, because you're looking at too many things at the same time. So getting on the inside, folks, back to what I'm talking about. People need to understand, relate to, and accept you before they will understand and relate to and accept your ideas. People need to understand, relate to, and accept you as a person before they will listen to what you have to say. Pacific Diva, good to see you. So you have to get on the inside and get people to recognize and appreciate the fact that you're you and what you bring to the table. Now that they're open to you, now they're open to listening to you, now you can start to maybe make the adjustments to the situation if you want to. Maybe you'll get in there and you decide that you just like it how it is. Maybe not. But the whole point is you got to get on the inside first. All right. And this means playing the game. And if you want to call that selling out, you want to call it being political, you want to call it being fake, I don't care what you call it. Just understand that there is one objective. And if the objective is winning, you need to do the things that contribute to winning, not the things that contribute to your ego. And sometimes when your ego and winning are in conflict, you have to make a decision. Which one matters more? My ego or winning? Which one matters more? If you can't answer, then we can't move forward. Until we get a clear answer, if you decide your ego is most important, okay, well, let's do what's going to serve your ego. You decide winning is important, okay, let's do what serves winning. Now, some of you may say, well, how about I serve my ego and winning at the same time? Well, you can. But again, there is only one steering wheel in the car. All right. Your ego and winning can't both be driving the car. All right. One of them has to be in charge. Every organization, Malcolm X said this in his autobiography. If you haven't read Malcolm X's autobiography, I would suggest you read it. In his autobiography, he said every organization must have a boss. Even if your organization is just you by yourself as one person, every organization must have a boss. So what does that mean? That means you by yourself, you need to know what the boss is of your actions. Every day when you wake up and you go outside or you get on your computer or you go to your job or whatever you do, you need to know what is the boss of this. In other words, what's the main objective that I'm trying to achieve? I'm doing all these things. You might have 30 things you do over the course of a day, but you're doing them all for what purpose? What's the end game? That is the boss of the organization. If you don't know what the boss is, then it's very hard to make decisions because you're thinking about 10 different things all at the same time. This is how people end up confused. Moving on to point number 3. And this is my last point. You got a question or comment, you can put it in the comment section. I'll address it after this point. We are talking today about why you want to be a sellout and why selling out, most people look at this as a negative thing or you are kind of just cheapening yourself. I'm suggesting that selling out is actually a smart thing if you're being strategic about your success. Number 3, if you want to be an insider, you have to buy in. All right. So what most people call selling out is actually buying in. What most people call selling out is actually buying in. And selling out is a good thing when you can get yourself on the inside in a place that can help you get to wherever it is that you want to go. So you got to decide. There are some times in life when you shouldn't sell out and you shouldn't try to get on the inside because you just don't want to deal with whoever or whatever that situation is. But there are other times when you need to sell out and you need to get on the inside and, again, play the game so you can win in a more strategic way. You can't always just go head up against everything you see in life. Eventually, you're going to run out of time or talent or resources to keep doing that. Eventually, somehow, you got to get on the inside and play the game from the other way. And again, this is a more strategic way of winning the game, or what they call a bloodless victory. You can achieve that way. But if you go head up against something, well, there's going to be resistance. That's just how it is. So being inside means literally being on the inside, which means you are adapting to the situation as it is instead of trying to make the situation adapt to you. There are times in life when you can make the situation adapt to you, but not all the time. So you have to be wise enough to know which situations can I change and which situations can I not change. Again, as I mentioned the serenity prayer earlier, everybody knows what it is. Which situations can I adjust and which situations can I not adjust? And I need to accept them as they are. Again, this is what buying in is about. And buying in, folks, doesn't mean that you need to always stay in that position. It's a strategic move, which allows you to get access to what is going on. And again, once you find out what's going on, maybe it'll give you a better understanding of why you didn't like the situation to begin with, or why it is how it is. You may learn some things once you get on the inside that you didn't know when you were watching the situation from the outside. Oh, now that you see how it goes, now you see how the sausage is made, so to speak, as they say. Now you realize, okay, this is why it's how it is. Okay, now that I see this, now I understand why it wasn't changing. Now I understand why it was the way that it was. Now that makes sense. So this is what you actually want. Sometimes you just got to get more information, folks. You just got to get more insight. You may say, well, I don't like this situation. I don't like this person. I don't like the way this thing is working. But you don't know what you don't know. There are certain things about why it is how it is that you don't know because you're on the outside of the room. And once you get in the room and you see how things actually work, then you'll say, okay, now it makes sense. All right, now it makes sense that it is this way. Now it makes sense that people do these things that they're doing. I remember when I was playing basketball, for example, one year I was in Germany, and I was working with this agent. He took me around to a couple of teams. He took me to this team's practice, and I practiced with the team. He watched it, and we went to dinner after the practice, and I thought I did pretty good in the practice. He said, well, I don't think you did that good in the practice. And I said, why not? He said, well, over here, as an American player, they look at you like you need to be like a scorer. You got to be like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. You got to just score all the points, and you got to score points really easily, and that's what you got to do. That's just the expectation of an American player. You can't be over here playing like a role player or passing the ball and doing all the quote unquote right things. You can't do that here because they don't look at you like that. They look at you like you got to score a bunch of points. And if you're not scoring a bunch of points, then they assume that you're just not that good. That's what he said to me. Now, did I generally agree with the concept? No, because in basketball, you can help your team be successful without scoring all the points, without shooting the ball every time. But at the same time, if I wanted, let's remember what I said. Every car has one steering wheel. Every organization must have a boss. So the boss of the organization for me at that time was, I'm trying to get signed to a team. So what's going to get me signed to a team was what he just told me. He gave me the information. He said, if you're an American, which I am, and you want to get signed to a contract over here, which I did, you got to score a bunch of points. That's the way they look at you over there. If you don't score a bunch of points, they don't think you're good. They're not going to sign you. So what you just did in practice today, yes, it was good basketball, but that's not going to get you signed to a contract. So what do you want? He didn't say that part. This is what I said to myself. Okay, so if I want to get a contract, I got to score a bunch of points in the game. So that means shooting the ball more than I usually shoot it and just scoring a bunch of points for the purpose of scoring points, just to prove that I'm good to these guys. Well, that's what I got to do. So that's what I started doing. I started playing like that and got an opportunity. Now, again, I had to sell out, i.e. buy in to the reality of what the situation was there in order to make things work the way that I wanted them to work. And you had to do the same thing. Any of you works at a job, you ever worked in a corporation, you ever been part of any type of group where maybe you didn't agree with everything, but you had to work with some stuff. Any of you have a favorite band or a favorite music group? If there's a band or a group, multiple people, there are times that somebody might not like one of the songs, but that song is working and the fans like the song and it becomes a hit record. Well, it's not like they're not going to play it. It's not like the drummer's like, well, I don't like the song, so when we do a concert, I'm not going to play it. Well, the fans like the song. What's the goal? What's the goal? Is the goal serving your ego or is the goal serving the fans? Because the fans are the ones who buy tickets. They buy merch. They're the ones who are listening to your music. They're the reason that you're a professional musician. So even if you don't like the song, you're still going to go perform it, right? So this is the maturity and the reality that we have to accept and the objectivity we got to have about the situations that we're in. And the question you should just keep asking yourself is, what is the objective? And notice that is a singular word. It's not plural. Not objectives with an S, objective, one thing. What is the main thing? Let me recap these points. You got a question or comment, put it in the comment section right now. Topic again today is why selling out is actually buying in. It's a smart thing to do, even though many people think that they're doing something wrong when they do this. Number one, you got to play the game. And when I say play the game, think about sports. There's one objective in sports. Many of you have 8 objectives and you're trying to chase all 8 at the same time. This is the reason why you feel burnt out, confused, and lost, because you're trying to achieve 8 objectives at the same time. You can't put 4 different locations in your navigation when you're driving and say, take me to all 4 at the same time. You can't do that. Car can't split into 4 pieces. All right, so where are we going? What is the main objective? Number 2, information and access. If you want to know what's really going on in the situation, you got to get on the inside and find out how things really work. You may think they work one way from the outside looking in, but when you get on the inside and you see what's really happening, you will, I got to pause IG connection. We're back. All right. When you get on the inside, you'll find out, oh, it's a little bit different than what I thought it was. And when you find out how it's going on the inside, that might change your perspective and even change your objectives and what you want to do. Number 3, if you want to be an insider, you got to buy in. All right. You want to be an insider, you got to buy in. As the saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans. When in Rome, do as the Romans. When you see how things are on the inside, you must adjust to how things are. Robert Greene said, think as however you want to think. Because people can't read your thoughts, but you should behave like everybody else so that you blend in and people come to accept you as a member of the group. And once they accept you, guess what? Now they're willing to listen to you. If you show up to a group or a place where nobody knows you and you have not establish yourself as someone who's in the group, and then you start trying to tell people why they should change, they're not going to listen to you. You're going to meet a whole bunch of resistance because they're like, well, why should we listen to you? We don't know you. You're not part of the group. We never seen you before. And you just showing up and telling us what to do different. That's not going to work. There are times in life when you can do this, when you have the leverage to do so or the resources to do so. But oftentimes you don't have this leverage. You got to build up that leverage and build up the know, like, and trust factors by getting people to listen to you, accept you, And then you can start to slowly make adjustments. It's like any of you been in a relationship and your partner has some habits that you would like them to change. You can't tell them that on the first date. Well, I don't like this habit. I don't like this car. I don't like the way you dress. You can't tell them that on the first date. It won't be a second date. Now, but if you come to accept them and appreciate them for who they are and appreciate that there are other things that you do like about them, while maybe putting off the things you don't like, over time, as you build up the relationship and the trust, now you can go to them and say, hey, how about you ever thought about this? Say, hey, can we change this? Can we take a look at that? Now they're willing to listen to you. But if you did that on the first date, they wouldn't listen to you. They end the date. They leave you right there in the restaurant and let you pay the bill. So you have to, again, learn to play the game, folks. Be strategic when it comes to making adjustments and making changes. Again, selling out is buying in. So anybody got a question or comment, go ahead and put it in the comment section. I didn't see too much coming through while I was talking, but I might have missed something. If you got a question or comment on any of these apps, let me check TikTok first, and then I'll go to Instagram. I didn't see anything on Facebook or over on the Rumble Studio. So if you got something, put it in the comments section. I'll address it right now, and then we'll wrap this up in about 3 minutes, and I'll tell you all what else you can do. Take your next step in what we are doing over here. Let me see. Actually, I didn't see anything on TikTok. Pretty quiet on TikTok today. Okay, so I guess my topic was silent enough. Y'all didn't have a question. And wait, I'm not done. Let me not speak too soon. The topic again today, folks, is why selling out is actually a good thing. And when you quote unquote sell out, you are actually buying in. TikTok news said I used to watch your basketball vids when I was little. That's what's up. What are you? Are you big now? Are you grown now? Shout out to people who was watching my basketball vids back in the day. Pacific Diva, appreciate it. Let's see what we got over there on IG. Someone asked, do I still hoop? No, I've not played basketball in a long time. I haven't played basketball since 2000, and it's almost been 10 years. Video's still up. You still find the videos online, but I don't play anymore. Someone said, I have a strong feeling that you don't go along to get along the game. Well, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, as I just explained. Boss up and call the shots, make your own rules to the game. Yes, when you are in position to boss up, but not everybody's always in position to boss up. So you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, as the saying goes. Someone said, make sure you're playing with the rungs. A little E said, running out of talent. Yes, we all eventually run out of talent or run out of time. You can't do everything on your own. You can't always do everything by yourself. So the highest level performers, or the people who appear to be the highest level performers, is not because they just outwork everybody or they're smarter than everybody. It's just that they use resources differently than everyone else. And another person is a resource, by the way. If you hire people to work for you, that is a resource, and you have to use them to do things that you don't need to do, but then you get credit for it because it's all part of your presentation. So again, you don't have to do everything yourself. A lot of people think that they need to just outwork their challenges. You shouldn't outwork your challenges. What you should do is find people or things, because these days technology can do it, that can do things for you that you don't have to do yourself. That's what smart people do. Jeff Bezos is not, if you order something from Amazon, Jeff Bezos is not in the factory putting your book into the little envelope. No, he's not doing that, but he has people working for him who do it. And that's how the package gets to you in 2 days. So again, you don't have to do everything yourself. You just get people to do things. So question is, Casa My Interiors, how do you recommend training your team on this subject? That's a great question. I have an episode of my show where I talked about that, and it is episode number 2916, How I Train Staff. So Casa, go to Apple or Spotify, look up my show. It's called Work on Your Game. Look up episode number 2916, 2916. And the topic is how I train staff. And the episode right before that, 2015, is how I hire people. So that'll help you. That'll give you a good starting point of this. And for everybody here, your next step with me, any of you want to work with me directly, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is in the bio of wherever you are watching this, whatever app you are on. If you just go to my bio or the pinned comment on one of these apps, it's workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you can work with me directly and have me as your direct coach, get access to all our trainings. When I take these recordings down, these will be in the back end of our university. So any of you like what you heard here and you want more of this, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. And let me see what else we got. Ruda, what's going on? Casa, you're welcome. Hopefully that was useful for you. You can send me a DM if you got any other questions about stuff like that. You're a junior at Syracuse. Are you playing at Syracuse? Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. Congrats to you. What's your name? And I'll see if I'll look you up. Send me a DM here on TikTok. I'm about to wrap this up because I got a call coming up in 7 minutes. So I got to wrap this up. So I appreciate everybody. Y'all know where to find me. Just send me a DM. You got a question or comment. Either I or my staff will get to it, or just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to learn more about taking the next step with us in our university. Everybody have a great, what's today? Tuesday. Work on your game. We out of here.